Hey, it is Eric and it is Nick, and we are back from Cain't Bayou at NOLA Motorsports Park in New Orleans.
Just before we arrived, the track finished its resurfacing, which is great. Normally when we go to a track, it's like the day before they resurface. They were still painting the curbs the night before the race, so racers, if your car's covered with mysterious red and white paint, we apologize for that. Of course, the Pontiac G6, you can watch a Lemons World episode on that car. It grenaded its transmission all over the brand new surface 4 hours into the test day on Friday. Ugh, sorry, NOLA, for that one.
Also related to the resurfacing, as the race began, we realized that the timing system was not working, so we had to circulate all the cars under full course yellow while we troubleshooted it, and found out that when they had gone to resurface it and finish it, they hadn't bothered to plug the timing loop back in, so we plugged that back in and it worked just fine.
Before this race, we were contacted by the United States Coast Guard about doing a flyover to kick off the event. Now, normally at the Super Bowl and whatnot, they time it so the flyover happens right at the end of the national anthem. We don't have that kind of precision, but we figured, there's a half an hour window between the drivers' meeting and green flag. We'll make that the call to grid. We'll tell the racers, hey, there's going to be a call to grid. You'll know it when you see it. And of course, nobody showed up on time. Random helicopters flew over. Nobody knew what they were for. The pictures look good, though.
In Big Lemons news, eBay Motors is now the presenting sponsor of the 24 Hours of Lemons, which means that we give out a bunch of free swag at the drivers' meetings, including eBay Motors stuff, and eBay Motors also presents the Halloween Meets Gasoline Trophy, which is a $1,000 prize for the best theme. We had a lot of great themes at this race.
Some of those themes included number 95, More Power Racing. This is the Tool Time Ford Mustang, obviously a Tim Allen home improvement theme. Tim Allen raced the Saline Mustang. This Lemons car certainly does have a V8. It is not a Saline V8.
One of our favorite themes was from Flaccid Chassis Racing, of course, the Pontiac G6 we've already mentioned. Now, a lot of people know that Oprah gave a car away, but not many people remember that it was a Pontiac G6 to everybody in the audience, which is more of a punishment than a giveaway. But Flaccid Chassis remembered they came as Oprah audience members who are receiving and also giving away free cars. Do this, it is great.
As you may not know, in the 24 Hours of Lemons, we have a loophole for Korean cars. That means the judges are going to go easy on you as far as penalty laps and classing. Why do we have this? Well, that's because Judge Phil has this inexplicable love of Korean cars.
Yeah, it's not uncommon to be having a conversation with Phil and he just randomly interjects something like, Daewoo, for life, Hyundai XG350,
Bibimbap,
Syngman Rhee,
SK Wyverns, Daewoo Laganza.
Kuyan Motorsports therefore brought a Kia Spectra, a car which nobody has any idea what it looks like, and perfectly they had a camouflage theme going on it. It was completely stock and running on the mighty Waterfall Eco-Dynamic tires, because when you think of tires, you think of waterfalls. That was pretty crusty, pretty poorly driven. They got the sexy car wash penalty, which was directed by several team members' wives. That was hella sweet.
We had a rookie team at this race, the Alamo Distilling Race Team with a Mustang. They were from the Alamo Distillery in San Antonio, Texas, and they brought this Fox Mustang. Now, a lot of you people might be thinking, Fox Mustangs are on the rise. I've seen them on Bring a Trailer. Didn't I just see one sell at Mecum for $50,000?
Welcome back to Mecum Auctions down here in Kissimmee, Florida. Now we're watching a classic Ford Mustang cross the auction block, but what we're really excited about is an upcoming Mustang from the 80s. Now that's a Fox Mustang, of course. Eric, you're down on the auction floor. What can you tell us about this Fox Mustang?
All right, Nick. Well, this one's in 1983, which, as we all know, started at $35,000 for a four-cylinder. This one in particular is a 5-liter high output with the classic see-through distributor cap. My math's saying that's another 22 or so. This one has the Barfly accumulator package, which is a factory stock package with red interior, power windows and locks. That's another $4,000. High gloss maroon paint, that's the red over red, is real big money these days. Comes with a Rust Banisher 900 treatment, that's another $9,000. And as the original hot performance lightweight hatch and strut package, it's another $1,550. This one was previously owned by some dude in Florida. We'll just assume it was part of Don Johnson's collection, so that doubles the value. We're looking at about $140,000 expected here.
Well, that's incredible, Eric, especially that Don Johnson provenance. Like, who knows if Crockett and Tubbs' ass cheeks were on those seats? That's gonna be a high number.
Next up, we've got the high-quality General Motors machine of Yankee Rebs Racing. It's a Pontiac Sunfire. They've been trying to race in Lemons for a couple years. All of their planned races have been canceled due to COVID. Finally, things lined up. They showed up here with this Sunfire. The captain's wife had painted this thing freehand. We opened up the hood and, oh man, Alero swap. $500 my ass, 3.4 liter V6, and the sound of power.
GM sound of power.
Normally in Lemons races, BMWs are boring, who cares? But we actually had 3 fairly entertaining new BMWs at this race. And when I say new BMWs, the first one was a new BMW, at least as far as Lemons goes. It was a 2005 BMW 645 Ci. $500 my ass. This car looked like it had gotten lost on the way from the douche convention. But it turns out the previous owner had just recently passed away, and the car was sitting in the driveway when his family decided that they needed to empty the house and sell it. They had somebody come in and do a quick paint job on the house, and all of the overspray ended up on this car. Kind of hard to sell a car with a bunch of house paint on it, and it also turned out that it had some other stuff going on, like 284,000 miles on it and a dashboard full of warning lights. 10 minutes into the race, the car flipped out and went into limp home mode and wouldn't go over 45 miles an hour.
Another surprisingly entertaining BMW was the not done yet BMW E36. It had a biological ecosystem growing on it that, of course, they left alone and raced with. If you're going to have an unpainted BMW, I don't see any better way to do it than this.
One other new BMW was Goldfish Racing. We've seen them with a Ford Probe before, and they came back with a real racing E36 convertible. Now, I don't know about you, but if I was going to run with a convertible hardtop on, I might reinforce the latch system. These guys didn't, and it hella flew off. Hella sweet was the nearly adequate racing Ford Pinto wagon, now with a V8. Now, these guys are 3 races into asking us to predict their lap total. This time, I went with 1, playing by Price is Right rules, and I lost. And so did everybody else, because they did almost twice as many laps as they'd ever done in 7 previous races this time. Still finished like 67th, so nearly adequate, also an accurate description of the team. But Terrible was the Nader haters in their Chevy Corvair. You can watch an entire Lemons World episode on that car. They blew up the half shafts in their WRX powered Corvair. They drove all the way back from New Orleans to Houston to get spares, brought them back, put them back in the car, and then blew those up. So that was butt terrible.
We witnessed the return of the Lustang, which is a Mustang with a Lexus motor. It's a Toyota 1UZ V8. 1UZ, no shit! For cars like this, we can write clickbait like Ford people hate this swap, or you won't believe this one crazy trick dude dominating a Lemons race. There's a big following for the 1UZ motor. Some people think of it like an LS, but better. We decided to let it run without any penalty laps, which was obviously a huge mistake because The car won the race. The car finished 9th place overall. The car finished the race. The car finished the first day. The car finished the first stint. The car finished 100 laps. The car finished tech inspection.
Unusually, all of the actual class winners are worth talking about at this race. Doesn't happen very often. And we had the closest race ever in Lemons for the overall win between Party Girl Mercedes Compressor and Ginger Racing BMW E34. Just like classic DTM, pretty much.
Now, the thing that was really cool about this was that after this incredibly close finish, these drivers were not butthurt. There was no complaining about tactics or unfairness or anything. They were just really pumped about really hard and fair racing. And it was great to see that at the Lemons level, because that kind of camaraderie and appreciation and respect for your competitors is what happens at the highest levels of motorsport.
No, Mikey, no, Mikey, that was so not right.
Tony not very happy.
Gosh, it's familiar. Well, we know what Tony thinks.
Now we are a bunch of wankers. Yeah, bunch of clowns here.
The Class B winners were Tetanus Racing in their Porsche 944. They've literally been trying to win Class B with this car for 10 years. Super cool to see that happen.
Class C was won by Team Schwifty in a Datsun 280ZX. They had a last-minute change to their roster and were racing with only 2 drivers because their third driver had to cancel due to kidney stones.
Heroic Fix went to Miles O'Cock Racing and their Geo Metro. There were several overnight engine swaps at this race, but this was kind of a different set of circumstances than typical. The last time we saw them, they thought their 1-liter 3-cylinder Metro lacked enough power, so they did what anyone would do. They threw away the fuel injection setup and adapted it for a carburetor using a 1973 Beetle carb with a piece of Harley-Davidson exhaust adapted as a manifold. They didn't bother to dyno tune it or anything, but they were pretty sure it was making at least 59 horsepower, which is of course more than 55. They did get towed in almost immediately when the entire carb setup just fell off the car, but you know, minor quibbles, and it was leaking oil for most of the race. Now, those are not insurmountable problems. The problem came when the team member in charge of bringing all the tools didn't. And all they had was a set of hand tools from Harbor Freight, which were the color-coded deep well sockets.
I got screwed, went to Breaking Bad Racing in a BMW E36, They're actually the reigning Heroic Fix winners from this event. They won Heroic Fix at the last NOLA race because they swapped like 3 motors and finally got one to work and finished the race. Well, they started this race with that motor and it blew up like 7 laps in and they lost to the Pinto wagon. They got screwed.
Now, the real I got screwed happened in absentia. The team that would have won it left early and you must be present to win, but we think they merit a mention here because their story is really extraordinary. Orca Racing has raced this Chevy S10 swapped Cadillac CTS for several years. I mean, that is just the perfect embodiment of Lemons, is taking a big rock and putting it into a finely honed luxury machine. They've nearly won Class C 3 times at least. They will never get to win Class C in this car ever because it burned completely down to the axles. The driver got out, which is great, and a reminder that your first job when your car catches on fire is to get the out of it. So good job on them. During BS inspection, the team captain told us that he had a line on a Dodge Caliber SRT4. The team captain seemed very into this idea, and the rest of the team seemed a little lukewarm, I would say is a fair interpretation of it. Unfortunately, they had this discussion with me in front of the Cadillac, which responded by self-immolating the next day, thereby forcing them to build a Dodge Caliber SRT4 for Lemons. If that's not screwed, I don't know what is.
The special award was called the Just Tell Everyone This Is For Winning Award, and it went to NatPad in their Ford Probe. That's an acronym for something that they told us about years ago, and we have no idea what it was. In any case, they drive this Ford Probe at a very moderate and conservative rate because they don't want to break it, because they don't want to fix it, because they have dinner reservations. They go to a bunch of different Lemons tracks. They found out all the good places to eat. They make reservations for that. They don't want to miss out, and so they make sure that the car isn't broken at the end of the day. So we decided to give them a trophy that they can show to their friends and say, yeah, man, this is for winning.
Worth pointing out, they were not present at the trophy ceremony, but their paddock neighbor accepted it for them because they were on their way to a dinner reservation. The Yokohama Road Mangler Cup went to the Cleverly Hillbillies in their Mercedes S600, a $130,000 car when new in 1992, we might point out. Now, the Road Mangler Cup is pretty simple. Bring your car on a set of Yokohamas. There's a drawing at the end of the weekend to win a set of Yokohamas.
Judge's choice went to the Rubber Duckers and their Mazda Miata. This is a bunch of college students from the University of Houston. The car was bought from a guy on house arrest. Some about they had to meet the guy's brother because the guy had a court date. Whatever, they got the car. It was totally stock. It had V-netic tires. They went out and got every black flag they could get without getting fully kicked out of the race, which gave them plenty of time to spend with Judge Sajeev. Judge Sajeev was noticing that this car was from UH, and it was a NA first generation Miata, and then he started thinking in his head about Master P. Now, of course, these guys are college students, meaning they were born in like 2009 and have no idea who Master P is. Now, Judge Sajeev, he's old like me, and so he relished in the opportunity to educate them on the Master.
Organizer's choice was low speed, high drag, and their Ford Focus. Now, these guys are great. They've been to Lemons rallies, plural, and they don't really care about winning or where they finish or if the car is quick. They're just out to have a good time, and we always like that. The two principal members are cancer survivors who, once they got through treatment, decided that they were going to do all the stuff they'd always wanted to do, like drive a race car. They dressed up their car like Mardi Gras for BS inspection, and we enjoyed that. They loaned out their second car to Florida man Donnie, who also put the tetanus racing people in it when their car blew up, so loaning out his second car, that was hella sweet. And they also printed out a bunch of Rod Blagojevich stickers for us to use in penalty based on the cameo that we received as a bribe last year.
It's fake and a fraud if the competition is a fake and a fraud.
Index of Affluency, Lemons Grand Prize, went to the Black Unbeauty Chrysler Imperial, this is the same stable that has the Mercedes and Monaco, and somehow this Chrysler is much bigger and much slower than both of those cars. This is a great approach to winning an IOE, and really Lemons in general. The only thing slower at the entire event was the highly tuned Geo Metro. The Imperial ran fine all weekend, but they also used up their entire supply of tires. The front right in particular, which doesn't make any sense because the track goes the other direction, whatever. They burned through like 8 of those. They finished on tire of very questionable age at about a quarter of the car's max speed, which already wasn't very good. Tire changes aside, car didn't have any issues, was on track, looking incredible the whole weekend.
The eBay Motors presents the Halloween Meets Gasoline Trophy goes to Escape Velocity Racing, and specifically to Jen Swanson and Rob Simpson, who got married at this race. Yes, if there's a better theme than getting married at the race, we have not seen it. That is complete dedication. They got married at turn 16, I think it is, at sunset after the race was over on Saturday. That was hella sweet. Escape Velocity Racing and Tetanus both contributed to making the ceremony happening. They officiated, they helped set up, they did all of these things. There was a finish line, there was a racetrack runner, there were camshafts on the arch thing that nobody could remember what it's called. I've been to a lot of weddings in my life, and usually they end up running slightly behind schedule. This is the only one I've ever been to where the officiant's race car was the cause of the delay for the wedding. The Dodge Dart had run over a brake caliper that had cleaved the transmission pan in two and oiled down all of the track. The sweeper truck had to go clean that up before they could go onto the track. Set everybody back about 20 minutes. That was kind of fitting for a Lemons wedding, actually.
The rest of the wedding featured a lot of Lemons veterans. We had Johan as a flower girl, Ted Fort as the ring bear, Bob Griffin as the officiant, there was king cake for dessert, and on top of all of that, bride and groom, Jen and Rob, they raced against each other to start the race on Saturday. Rob said it was the most fun he'd ever had on track. All in all, a damn fine weekend.
That brings us to Lemons in a Nutshell.
Does it feel like you're dragging something?
No.
It's fine.
Kimchi. There you go.
Happy birthday, dear Dale. Happy birthday to you.
Uh-oh. It's possible that I won't be able to stop talking like this. What do you think, Eric?
I think I'm probably stuck in this mode for at least 3 to 7 weeks. Yes, I need to cancel my 10 a.m. appointment. I'm having a tooth pulled.
All right, I am going to go to my side gig. I'm just trying to make a little extra cash.
Welcome to Movie Phone!